So we started looking at this Pokemon database yesterday, which is fairly straightforward. It's just a bunch of records, each one of which is a Pokemon, and we got these fields, and we had a quick look and looked at the data types in the fields, text and number. There's other data types that we will come across, but there's a yes, no down here for legendary. And we had some questions to answer. So what were those questions? Things like which Pokemon has the highest HP, strongest defense, easy enough, and I'll just look at those one way. And then how many poison type Pokemon are there? So we're going to use queries. We could just, for the easier answer, say this one here, the HP, we could sort descending on HP. Look at the top one, it's Blissey, HP 255. We found the one with the highest HP. That's actually changing the design of the table. We try not to do that as part of what we're doing. We set the design of the table from the beginning, and then we use queries to find out what we want to do. So I'm just going to, without saving changes, get rid of that. Oh, I did save the changes. Never mind, doesn't actually matter. I'm going to create a query. We always use the query design. Okay. We don't use the wizard. We use wizards in other places, but not when we're making queries. This is the tables that are available, only one table at the moment. I'm going to drag that over here. And these are the fields. Down here will be the fields that are actually displayed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag some relevant fields down there. I always like to have the ID, that's useful, and the name. And I'm just going to put HP down there. Just those three fields. So we'll just see in the query, we can see just three fields, ID, name, and HP. Back to design view. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it sort. And it's going to sort descending. So it'll be easy to, we've got that same information. Now, we were able to do that by looking in the table, but I'm just kind of trying to ease us into the way of queries. So I'm going to save that query, QRY. I always save my queries starting with QRY, so I can tell what they are when they've got a big list of things. QRY, I'm just going to call this question 1. I think that's good enough for my purposes right now. We'll try to come up with descriptive names. So there we go. We've got a table and now we've got a query as well. I'm going to make a new query for this. How many poison type Pokemon are there? And we're only going to look at type 1. So let's dive into here. Let's create a new query design. Queries are free. We can make as many as we want, so there's no harm in just making a new one. And I'll take the name this time, and I'll take the type 1, but I'm not going to bother with anything else. And what I'm going to do is for criteria, I'm going to say poison, because it's a text field, it will put that into speech marks. So it's filtering out everything that has poison in type 1. And if I go to datasheet view, down here it tells me there's 28 of them, so that's a nice easy answer. And then I'll just look at one more, look at the last question. All generation 2 water type Pokemon in ascending, I was supposed to say ascending order, I seem to have run out of letters. So I'm going to save this one just to prove a point that it's super easy to save what I'm doing as I go along. So QRY question, that was question 3 I think, and then make a new query, create design, drag in my Pokemon table, and the question is it's got to be generation 2. So I've got to list them, so I'm going to bring up their name, and generation 2, so I'm going to bring generation into it, and water type, I'm going to assume just type 1 again, and then in ascending order, it's supposed to be ascending order of HP, so I'm going to bring HP into it as well. So it was generation 2, which is numeric, you can see it hasn't put speech marks around it. Type 1 is going to be water, and it's going to be an ascending order of HP. So what does that look like? It's just those ones. So I can just use my snipping tool, and I can take a snip of that and paste that into my answer. Okay. So just looking back at the design view of that, looks like this, using criteria, multiple criteria, and sorting as well. So that's the basics of a simple select query.